right now we are disembarking in Icy Strait Point. So we are learning all about salmon, how it was processed, how it was canned. Look at the size of that.
It looks like we're walking through Jurassic Park. It seems like these ones, they grow forever.
The views were simply phenomenal. As soon as you get to the top, you get off and there's this viewpoint of Glacier Bay and you're like, this is the Alaska I came here to see. Just nature at its finest, raw, rugged beauty.
This has been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying cruising. First cruise and I'm sold on the concept. Alrighty friends, good morning. This is our second port of the trip of the cruise to Alaska. And right now we are disembarking in Icy Strait Point. This place is spectacular. We are in the middle of the forest, and first thing we're seeing as we get off the cruise ship, two bald eagles right in front of us. Pretty amazing. So yeah, we're just gonna try and get a little bit closer and show you the wildlife here. It's amazing. Again, really great weather today. It's a little bit overcast, but it's nice and pleasant. So today is gonna be all about enjoying nature, wildlife,
Oh my gosh, I've just
walking.
Just running up ahead to get a shot of a bald eagle. I mean, we haven't even got off of the platform yet, and already we're being treated to spectacular wildlife. So excited to be here. This is definitely a more tranquil destination, a really small place.
Yes.
I think we're just gonna wander around, do some hiking. There's an opportunity to go to the gondola. Just so happy to be here. It's so beautiful.
So as soon as you get off the dock, you've got kind of like this welcome area with an information center. You can book different tours. And the first thing you spot, of course, is the gondola. That's one of the main activities here. And then also they have one of the biggest zip lines in the world. Right. Alrighty, we have two options, guys.
Yes, and we're gonna do both of them.
Yes, we are.
But we'll talk about both. So first off, we're gonna be taking the transporter gondola. This beautiful gondola system.
It's free.
It's free for anybody. And then we're gonna come back on the nature trail.
Yes.
It's only a 15-minute walk.
FYI, there's bear activity.
Yes,
gotta be careful.
There's bear activity. It says so. There's a sign. So yeah, be careful and be aware of the bears, obviously. But yeah, let's go check it out. Okay, we made it. We made it.
The old one, the very old one. Le llaman el paternoster, no? They have those.
What a smart idea for them to do this.
Alrighty, so I'm gonna show you here on the map. That is where we started. That's where our cruise ship is docked. We took the gondola over to this area. And next, there's a nice little boardwalk. We can walk up to there, to that section where we've got the Huna Cannery. So I think that is our plan. Oh, people are ziplining behind us. I don't know if you can see them going past. That's a little too scary for me. Yeah, but the ride was really nice. You just go through the middle of the forest and it is like so thick and dense and lush. You can tell they get a lot of rain over here. And yeah, it's just a beautiful ride. The scenery is spectacular. We're planning to walk back once we're done with our day of sightseeing so that we can actually enjoy being in the woods, being in the thick of it. But yeah, here we've got a nice little stop with some restaurants. There's a smokehouse, washroom facilities, that sort of thing. And yes, just having a lot of fun. This is a really cool spot that I had never even heard of before. So very excited to be here in Icy Strait Point. I just want action. here we are walking along the beach with Aurelia in arms with Grandpa, and you noticed something. Something caught your attention.
Yeah.
Do tell.
What caught my attention was the size of this log.
I'm going to show
Look
you
at this
here.
beast.
Look at this behemoth. It runs all the way, like down there. That's a tree.
Passing that little tree there. And also, all of these ones, they have the chain system.
Yes.
Okay, this one has the chain, and this one has the clip. That means that these logs were the ones that were used on the perimeter. You know, when they float the trees and the logs down the water by the lake or the river, it looks like a huge raft, but the logs in the middle are just loose. And the ones all around the edges, they have these chains.
Yeah, they're tied up together.
Yeah, they tied up together, and then the tug pulls from them. So this is to avoid that the logs that are floating in the middle and they're not tied to anything, they just wander off with the current and they disappear. So it's basically like a ring made out with this, and that's how they transport. Because around here, you know, you have no roads and you have no means of transporting anything other than by water, and that's how they do it. They bring it to the mills, floating, and then they just process them for whatever it is that they need, like boards or posts and beams and whatever, right? But this is the way that it is done here in these parts of the world.
And another thing that you were mentioning, these are cedar trees.
Yeah.
And the other day we learned that they use red cedar to carve the totem poles that we've been seeing.
Yeah, because the cedar is one of the trees that has the most
it's like durability, would you say?
Yeah, durability at the
to the elements.
With the element, to the weather. It doesn't rot. So a cedar tree, once it's been cut, it can stand for years, decades, and maybe hundreds of years without getting rotten. And this is also a tree that has a natural repellent for all these insects that like to chew and eat and carve and bore in the wood. So the cedar is also a natural repellent. The smell of the cedar, there's got to be something there that is like a mothball, a giant mothball, right? It's a cedar tree. Amazing.
I'm taking it.
Different kinds of salmon. Who knew there were so many? My gosh. Whoa. Apparently the king salmon is running right now and the bears love to eat that one. It's the biggest. So we are learning all about salmon, how it was processed, how it was canned.
Yeah, it's amazing. This is the Cannery, and they have like actually they have the original machines that they were using for to process the salmon. The fish is not real, of course, it's make-believe, you know, but they have different stations, and they show over there on that side how the fish was gutted and the head and the fins were removed over here. And then on the other side, we have the actual canning process. It's super interesting because this is not stuff that was made just for the museum. It's the actual machine that these people were using back in the day. And, you know, you wonder how did they manage with so little. When you get to be my age, these are the type of things that makes you wonder how many generations of people worked in a place like this, in a factory, in a cannery like this, how many mothers and fathers they had to put in the days to feed the family and to bring up the kids. And it must have been a real hard life, because back in the day here, I don't think there was much other than the cannery or going to the bush and with an axe and fell trees, there was no other means or possibilities of making a dollar, if you will. So this was kind of maybe for a lot of people a forced situation to get into, and having to work in a place like this just because survival dictated it.
Okay, since we've been talking about salmon, let's actually talk about the life cycle of the salmon, which we can see here in the diagram. But my dad, Daniel, is going to give us a quick lesson. Is this a biology lesson here?
Yeah, salmon is so good to eat, but a lot of people ignore completely what's the salmon life like,
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about farm salmon because those they live in a cage, basically. We're going to talk about wild salmon. The salmon is born in a very shallow and small creek, usually up in the mountain, with a very crystal clear water, and the bottom has to be pebbled. Okay, that's where the salmon is born. That's where the females lay the eggs, and that's where the males
fertilize
the egg. What happened the first month of life, they live there where they're born. They get strong, and then slowly they start swimming out of that little creek. They go into a bigger river and a bigger river, and they always swim towards the. Here we're in the West Coast, so they swim toward the Pacific Ocean. Once they reach the ocean, they go. And they spend, depending on the different species of salmon, the time could vary, but usually around 4 years, they spend swimming around the Pacific Ocean, getting big, getting nicely and fat. And then the time comes when they have to reproduce again. And slowly, from that huge ocean water, slowly they make their way to the same place where they were born, exactly the same spot. They come into the ocean through the bigger rivers, and they swim upstream always because the river flows towards the ocean, so the salmon is fighting always the current, and sometimes they have to go over some falls, and slowly they get to the same area where they were born. And that's where the female will lay the eggs again, and the male will fertilize, and that's the cycle of life is over. The salmon dies there. Now, it's over for the fish, but it's not over for nature, because out of that you have all kinds of wild animals that they feed and they survive thanks to the salmon, because they eat it. You have a lot of the natural trees and vegetation that can thrive because of the nutrient they get from the salmon. Usually the bears or the wolves or the foxes or the eagles will take them into the forest, consume part of it, and the rest will be there left to rot. So once it's rotten, that goes into the ground and it gives a lot of nutrient to the trees and the plants. And as you can see, it's a cycle of life that not only feeds a human being, that they fish the salmon and then we eat it, but it also serves to feed a whole variety of wildlife and even the plant life, okay? This is one of the biggest mysteries of life. No one knows exactly for sure. There are some theories, but no one knows exactly for sure how does the salmon manages to, after swimming 4 years in the Pacific Ocean, make his way back to the same spot, Little Mountain Creek, where he was born. What kind of GPS is the Earth magnetic field that guides them? We don't know for sure. But the thing is that this fish can find his way back to the origins. And that's the story of the cycle of life, life cycle of the salmon that a lot of people don't know. It's a marvel of nature, right?
Thank you for that lesson.
I hope I didn't bore you with it.
No, that was fascinating.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed visiting the Cannery area and so appreciated the history tour you did with your father. That was fascinating. Yes, there's a gift shop. Yes, there's also places to eat, but they have a fascinating museum inside so you can learn about the history of this place and also about the history of Alaska and the different industries they've had over the years. So I found this a really fascinating place to go. Very laid back, very chill, and we spent probably almost 2 hours here. So we had a really good time.
Okay, so we are now walking back to the cruise ship, and you saw us come on over via the gondola. Now we are going back on foot. There's a nice hike. It's a 15-minute hike, and it's a trail that winds through the forest, and all around us we can also see the treetop trekking. That's one of the activities that you can do here in Icy Strait Point. So if you're feeling adventurous and you don't have a problem with heights, they have all sorts of obstacle courses. You can also see them behind me. And I wanted to share one piece of advice. If you are traveling as a young family with babies or little kids, it's good to have an all-terrain stroller with big wheels, especially if you're planning to do the hiking, because here we are on like a dirt trail with a bit of gravel. I mean, if you do have the simpler, smaller umbrella-style stroller, you'll probably want to come and go via the gondola because you're going to struggle. You'll probably lose a wheel. But we have my dad pushing Aurelia, who fell asleep, finally.
Yeah. This here, Alaska, the last frontier, is not for flimsy equipment or Mickey Mouse things. Here you need, you know, equipment that can take it, and the stroller is a good example of that.
Yeah.
If you come with a little umbrella, folding stroller, $29.99 kind of thing that you put in the city, here you're going to destroy it, and you end up carrying the baby in one hand and the stroller in the other one. So get yourself a 4x4 stroller, and then you won't have any problem.
There you go.
Believe me, it's a good piece of advice.
He's had 3 kids, so he knows.
Despite the abundance of forest wildlife ranging from deer, bear, and moose, there are no snakes to be found in Alaska.
Look at the size of the leaves. Like, I need to put my hand here just for scale. Look at the size of that.
It looks like we're walking through Jurassic Park. The size of some of these plants, it's just out of this world, especially under a canopy of a pine tree like this, you know. It seems like really we are in some, even, I don't know, subtropical, or even it looks in some area look like a tropical forest.
This one we call the lettuce. Look at that.
The lettuce, you know, look at this. And also the when you touch under the tree trunks, it seems like it is a sponge, you know.
Yeah, like a cushion of leaves.
It's like some sort of a cushion of moss and all kinds of debris, and that's a good indication of the amount of water that must fall over here in the way of rain, you know. Otherwise, you couldn't have, you know, this type of vegetation. This only, you know, these are all species that require a lot of water. And I mean, not just a couple of days of rain a month. I mean, heavy stuff. And the height of these trees, it seems like these ones, they grow forever. And that's also probably due to the good excess of water that they receive. So
water, water, water.
Amazing.
Rain, rain, rain.
Yeah.
Friends, I just completed an epic ride up on the Sky Peak Gondola. Check it out on my wrist here. Everyone else was basically hanging out and chilling back on the cruise ship. We had a very busy day, kind of just wandering around, but I thought I had one more activity still in me, so I decided to do this. It was $49. I've got to tell you, I used up all of my courage points for the day. That was one of the steepest gondola rides I've ever been on. There's an area where it just feels like there's just pure vertical ascent. Anyways, the views were simply phenomenal. As soon as you get to the top, you get off and there's this viewpoint of Glacier Bay, and you're like, this is the Alaska I came here to see. The raw wilderness, the ice-capped mountains, the pristine water. I mean, just nature at its finest. Raw, rugged beauty here in Alaska, and it was so worth it. Upon finishing that, I just went on the little nature hike that they have on offer. It wasn't spectacular, just an easy little walk. You have a little bit of a lookout point, but that's not the highlight. The reason to go up there is for the epic views, and it was definitely worth it. 49 bucks, and that covers your return trip. So I'm really glad I went up there, and that is it for me today. I'm gonna partake in the siesta just like everyone else.
Alrighty, whew, it's windy. So we are now leaving Icy Strait Point. We spent the day here. It was beautiful. Enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would. I mean, when I heard we weren't actually visiting a real town, that this is just a stop for cruising, I wasn't sure what it would be like, because everything we visit today has been built for tourists. But honestly, it was really fun. We got to visit a museum and learn about salmon canning, and the trail through the forest was just gorgeous. Sam ended up taking the gondola. Well, we also took one of the gondolas, but like not the epic one that goes up the mountains. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Now we are continuing onwards to Juneau, and the captain just came on the speakers and announced that there's a very good chance we'll be able to do some whale watching on the way to Juneau. The water is super calm right now. Like, we have really lucked out with the weather. So we've just grabbed a table here on the outer deck with the whole family, and we're gonna see, maybe we got lucky and we see some humpback whales or some killer whales. We already saw whales in Ketchikan, so I mean, we've ticked that box, but it'd be great to see some more. And yeah, we're just going to enjoy the journey. We've got really long summer days at the moment. So yeah, perfect for just enjoying the scenery here in Alaska. This has been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying cruising. First cruise, and I'm sold on the concept, so it'll be the first of many.
Yeah, very different.
Blow the horn.